Hi, I'm Kelsey Mays for Cars.com, and it is 12 degrees in Chicago, so we're going to quickly show you the 2008 Jeep Commander. Now, the Commander arrived in the middle of 2005 as Jeep's first SUV with 3 rows of seats. Along the dash, there's plenty of storage. There's a storage box above the glove compartment, and there's plenty of little slots and nooks kind of around the transmission and below the center controls. The glove compartment itself, it's plenty wide, but it opens pretty low, and sometimes it can get on your passenger's shins. Everything in here is hard to the touch, all the materials are, but considering sort of the intentional truck-like styling that's going on, it doesn't seem like quite as much of an offense. The center controls in our test car have large, easy-to-use knobs for the air conditioning and the heat, but the radio here, you'll notice it's just a big mass of buttons which are kind of hard to pick out on the fly. Second and the third rows sit progressively higher than the first row, so you'll actually have plenty of room out the windshield as you're sitting back here. Legroom in the second row really isn't great. That's where I'd sit to drive, and as you can see, I'm pretty tight here, but headroom is actually pretty usable. Now, accessing the third row is a bit tricky, and that's because the second row actually splits into 3 different sections. The outboard seats sort of tumble forward, but you really have to pull on the levers to get them to move up. And the doors are pretty narrow, and so is this opening right here as you get in, so it can be a little bit of a squeeze to climb in back there. Okay, now with the middle section collapsed, third row legroom is still pretty bad, as you can see. My legs are all scrunched up here, and this is really just for kids, although headroom is actually quite good. If you have the seats raised, though, the view out the third row is pretty tight. Now with the third row up, there really isn't very much room back here to put anything. The seats do come down pretty easily, and there are straps to kind of lift them back up. The second row goes down too, and with both of them down, there's actually quite a bit of room going forward. One thing you'll want to note is the height of the cargo floor. It's actually pretty high, so if you have a lot of heavy suitcases you're going to need to get in, they're going to be a real pain in the neck to kind of lift that high. That does actually pay dividends with the third row glass hatch, which opens like this. In a lot of SUVs, the load floor is so far down from the hatch that really to get stuff in, it's just not very convenient. Here it's a real quick drop down, which means that people might actually use this feature. The Commander has 3 engines available. We've driven all 3. There's a V6, and that should prove fine if you just drive by yourself most of the time. There's also a 4.7-liter V8 in our test car. That's been upgraded to make about 300 horsepower for 2008. That's actually quite powerful. It gets up and goes on the highway. Even with a full load of people, I found myself able to pass semis at 60 and 70 miles per hour just fine. There's also a 5.7-liter Hemi V8. I'm not sure if you'll really need the upgrade this year because the 4.7-liter V8 feels just about as powerful. Now the smaller V8 does get a little bit better gas mileage than before, but all 3 engines have gas mileage in the mid-teens. That's in the neighborhood of larger SUVs like the Nissan Armada and the Chevy Tahoe, while crossovers like the GMC Acadia and the Toyota Highlander get significantly better gas mileage. The Commander does have 2 areas that it really comes through on. That's off-roading power and towing capacity, so if you really need that, this might be up your alley. Otherwise, as far as overall practicality goes, we think there are better choices elsewhere.
For additional information on this car or any other, go to Cars.com and our blog, Kicking Tires.